Susan sat alone in her apartment later that night, staring at the ring Mike had given her. Her mind raced with conflicting thoughts. She cared deeply for Mike and adored Laura, but the scars of her past kept her frozen. What if I'm not enough? What if I failed them like Mezzo failed her family? The thoughts made her chest tighten. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a text from an unknown number. Emigration, she walked initially. Exit. Her brows furrowed. It was a text from an unknown number. You think you're building something real? Mike deserves better than someone with secrets like yours. Stop pretending. Susan's hands trembled as she read the message. Secrets? What did they know? Her heart pounded. She deleted the message but couldn't shake the unease it brought. Meanwhile, Mezzo sat alone in the small apartment she had rented after Chuka's betrayal. The emptiness in the room mirrored the void in her heart. She stared at a faded photograph of her family, her husband and daughter smiling warmly beside her. Tears blurred her vision. Her phone buzzed, and her pulse quickened when she saw the name on the screen. Tua. She hesitated before answering. Hello, she whispered. Meso, it's me. His voice was steady but carried an edge of pain. We need to talk. Meso swallowed hard. Neat over the phone. He interrupted. Meet me at the cafe on Main Street tomorrow at noon. If you still care about fixing what's left of our family, you'll be there. Before she could respond, the line went dead. At Mike's house, Laura was fast asleep, clutching her favorite stuffed animal. Mike sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through emails related to his new contract. Despite the excitement of the day, something didn't sit right. He opened his financial records and began scrutinizing them. There was a discrepancy, a large sum of money missing from his account. His breath quickened as he clicked through the transactions. Sam, he muttered under his breath, his stomach sinking. He picked up his phone and called his friend. How's it going? Sam's voice boomed with its usual cheer. We need to talk now, Mike said, his tone icy. The next morning, Susan decided to confront her fears. She walked into a private investigator's office. A man in his late 40s greeted her with a professional nod. Miss Susan, you're asking me to dig into some old records. Is there something specific you're looking for? Susan hesitated before pulling out a crumpled piece of paper with a name scribbled on it. Victor Namby. I need to know if he's still alive, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The man raised an eyebrow but didn't press. I'll see what I can do. Mike's face hardened as he clenched the file in his hands. She abandoned Laura. She abandoned me, he murmured. What could she possibly want now? Susan reached out, placing a hand on his arm. I think it's time to confront her, Mike. You deserve answers. And so does Laura. Mike exhaled sharply, leaning back against the kitchen counter. Fine. Find her, Susan. Let's put an end to this. Later that evening, Mezzo sat alone in her dimly lit apartment, replaying her conversation with Tua. Her thoughts were interrupted by a loud knock on her door. Open up, Mezzo, came a firm voice from the other side. Slowly, she stood and opened the door. Tua stepped in, his expression serious. I need to know something, he said without preamble. Why did you leave? What made you walk away from everything? Mezzo looked away, tears threatening to spill. It wasn't just one thing, Tua. I was drowning, suffocating in a life I didn't know how to fix. I thought living would make things better for all of us. Tua shook his head, his frustration evident. You thought running away was the solution? You didn't just leave me, Mezzo. You left Laura. Do you know how many nights she cried herself to sleep asking where her mother went? Mezzo's knees buckled as she sank into a chair. I thought you were strong enough to give her what I couldn't. she whispered. I was wrong. Tua's voice softened, though his pain remained. It's not too late, Meso. You can still fix this, but it won't be easy. You need to face Laura and tell her the truth. At Mike's house, Laura sat in her room, scribbling in her journal. She paused, staring out the window at the quiet street below. Despite the love and attention from Mike and Susan, a deep longing gnawed at her. A knock on her door broke her thoughts. Come in, she called out.